Hey guys, it's Mehcad for the mid-season finale of Supergirl, Season 3, Episode 9, Reign, and I was definitely really looking forward to this episode. Obviously, last week we didn't really have Supergirl, which is kind of the crossover, but especially after the way the episode left off 2 weeks ago with, Samantha becoming Reign, I was really looking forward to seeing how this episode would turn out. And overall, I thought this was a really strong mid-season finale. Now, I will admit, I did think some of it was just a little bit too, this is a mid-season finale, so big stuff's gonna happen. It didn't feel as organic or natural as it could, but I did think overall it was definitely a very well done finale. I thought there was a lot of stuff that went down here. There's a lot of ground to cover for sure, and especially in a season that hasn't been like that eventful. I mean, there's been stuff going down, but nothing really all that major. I was surprised with how much really did happen in this finale because quite a lot did go down, but let's just get into it because I definitely do want to talk about it. So we start off and we start off with Samantha. She's waking up from a nightmare and Ruby rushes in to comfort her mother. We find out that Sam actually has no memory of going into the desert to discover more about her alter ego Reign, which I was very surprised, but I thought for sure that this was going to be, Samantha Iris was no more. She was now going to be Reign, full time, and it seems like that's not the case. She is still somehow maintaining both identities. We just don't really know how that's gonna go, but I'm glad because Odette Annable is, again, doing a tremendous job as this character, and especially this episode really to show how great she is. But at the DO, the group is talking about the 31st century with Mon-El and Imra, and the latter informs that her group, the Legion of Superheroes, were founded to carry on Supergirl's mission. I guess in 31st century, Supergirl's no more, she's just gone, and the Legion of Superheroes have had to take over. So, Mon-El explains that they mistakenly traveled back in time, and he wants the DO's help of repairing their ship so they can go back into the future. So, essentially, Mon-El's not going to be here for very long. He's basically just here until they can repair the ship. Knowing this show, though, I think they're going to stretch this out to the max. I think he's probably going to be on for the rest of the season because it's Chris Wood. It's Mon-El is a character that I know a lot of people weren't a fan of, but Chris Wood in general, I don't think they're going to just get rid of him. They're going to keep him on, for basically most of the season. So, if not the whole season, it's at least going to be most of the rest of the season. So, I don't think that, he's going to end up leaving anytime soon. So, we'll just have to see the way that does go. But I do like that we now know, what's actually going on, why he's there. But Kara invites Mon-El and Imra over to her apartment for a holiday party. But the couple declines the invite. They're not interested in going. And this felt a little far-fetched to me. Just the idea that, they don't want to go to her party. I mean, I understand why, obviously, but it felt less like they had a genuine reason and more like the writers were just kind of creating drama there. But most of the DEO crew is there, including John, Alex, and Wynn, as is Lena and James. He's there. And John's dad, Myron, then there's a knock at the door, and it's Samantha and Ruby. They're running late. And Sam complains about a rough day at work while Alex then pulls Ruby off to the side to answer questions about working with Supergirl. And Sam starts drinking scotch with Lena and teases her boss about having a fling with James, and Kara agrees that she notices the chemistry between James and Lena as well. I don't know if they're trying to set something up here, but I'm all for it. Why? Because James has had absolutely nothing to do. Nothing. I mean, he's had nothing of interest to do all season. He had the whole thing with him being the Guardian, but other than that, he's had, nothing to do here. So he tells her he's gotten a call and they have to go. So like I said, I don't know if they are trying to set up something there, if they are possibly trying to set up a relation between James and Lena, but knowing the show, I would not be surprised they do end up going in that direction. Bird's eye view, she notices this logo burn into the fields, and it's actually the logo of Reign. So she approaches the hologram of her mother about the emblem she saw burn into the ground, and she learns that the emblem is Kryptonian, but finds out that there isn't an exact translation of the logos. So unfortunately, there isn't really a way for her to discern what it actually is and what's, what that logo is all about. So at Catco, James then watching TV sets where the news is displaying that reports that the city has been vandalized with various iterations of the Reign emblem, and Lana then walks in and tells James that he thinks that Edge is behind the vandalism, because who else would it be? I mean, Edge is someone who has been after Lena, and he could very much be using this as a way to lure her to him, and Edge is a character I haven't exactly loved. I've already, talked about this. Edge is just someone who I think is just, he's not bad, like, he's not a bad character, but he's just very one note. He's your typical corporate businessman who's just very sleazy, and that's really all there is to him. There's not really much going on there, but Lena and James approach Edge at his office about the vandalism, but Edge claims his innocence. Like, he says he has nothing to do with it, and we know that he's genuine here. Like, for once, he actually isn't shady because he's actually telling the truth here. But Mono and Irma are out having Christmas Eve dinner. Kara and Win then show up, and noticing that Kara wants to speak to Mono alone, and Win then pulls Imra aside for a beer. While she's talking to Monel, she gets a collective call from Albatross Bay Correctional, and she shows up and we find out it was actually Thomas Colville, who was the pastor that led the cult of Rayo, who called her, and I knew we were going to get back to this eventually. So he's muttering various Kryptonian-like sayings before looking up and telling Kara that she actually has a lot to learn. So Colville explains that the end is near and that it's Kara's purpose to fight the devil. And there's a lot of exposition here, but I think a lot of this is all about what the end of the, what the rest of the seasons are really going to be. Because Kara explains that the devil isn't real, but she seems hesitant in her own beliefs, that there's no way that the devil could actually be out there. But you can tell that she is conflicted as to whether or not that's true. She's been brought up a certain way, but a lot of stuff is starting to point her in that direction that there might actually be one. So Sam's then working at Catco. Ruby's hungry and wants to go eat. Sam explains that she's too busy to go out, so the family nanny will be picking Ruby up. And an upset Ruby's eventually calmed down after she talks to her about a few of the memories that the two share. And she then gives Ruby a present, which is a necklace of the Supergirl emblem. So Kara's talking to the team of the DO about Colville's call. Imra walks in and says that she can help, and Imra then pulls Kara aside to talk to her about Kara's past with Mon-El, and I thought this was interesting. She talks about how Mon-El didn't move on from Kara lightly, and I like that she told her this. Like, she told her, look, it took him a while to get over you, and that it was definitely hard for this to happen. It shows that Imra isn't completely heartless. She actually does care about Kara, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going to go. I could definitely see these two possibly trying to put aside the fact that they both kind of like the same guy and things are very awkward between them. So I'm looking forward to seeing really where they do go. I really am liking what we're getting about Imra so far. But Lena and James are investigating the emblem, still under the impression that it's something that Edge has been doing, which, again, it makes sense. They've had nothing to do with Reign. The only thing they really know is Edge. So I understand why they think Edge is the one responsible. But they're chased and shot at by a gunman before James then stops him with a ricochet. And we see a drug dealer going down by the docks when the lights start going out. The drug dealers are taken out one by an unseen figure until the last dealer starts running away. He's eventually stopped by the shadowy figure, as we see through the figure's first-person point of view. And back at her office, they're both trying to do some research on the man who chased them. They reveal the shooter previously worked for a conference that Edge used to work for, so it is definitely possible that Edge is behind this. And again, all this evidence is kind of pointing towards Edge. And as Lena and James turn to look at the walls and the TV, reporters have begun actually reporting on a dozen gang members' deaths at the docks. Samantha looks at a picture of Edge on Lena's computer before walking out of the office and ripping apart her shirt, revealing the first look at her Reign costume. And this is really when things start to get great. Once she turned into Reign, that's when this episode got great for me. Because I will admit, it did take a while for this episode to truly get great. And then once she turned on that Reign costume, like, all right, here we go. We see at the DO, Wynn reveals that after running tests on the burn field, the burn was caused by a Kryptonian. It wasn't caused by Morgan Edge. It was a completely different being altogether. So I like that we do have confirmation that Edge has nothing to do with this. So Edge approaches Kara, who walks away because she says upset because she no longer sees love in her eyes, and Edge then calls Leigh to offer his condolences about her attempted assassination. When Reign starts wreaking havoc on his Christmas party, he's able to hide in his safe room in his office long enough for Reign to fly off, trying to find him elsewhere. And Kara tells the news to the crew of the DO before she flies off, trying to find the Kryptonian herself, not knowing that it's Reign. Of course, that's the alter ego of Samantha. And I like that she's not in the know about this. Like, she doesn't realize that this is actually, Samantha. So Edge calls together at our press conference where he tells reporters that he was attacked by someone, he specifically mentions that he can't be certain that it wasn't Supergirl who attacked him, and you can understand that obviously he's just trying to turn people against her, and Edge at this point, I just don't care about his character. I really don't. The actor's fine, but I just don't really care about him. Lena and James then watching the report when the two pour themselves a glass of whiskey, and before too long, the two put their whiskey down and they start to kiss, and this felt very rushed to me. I don't know why they're rushing this relationship. I think this could have been a much more gradual thing. There's nothing this season that's hinted the fact that these two have liked each other. It's just seemed all of a sudden they're starting to flirt. I get it, it's sudden, but it's just a little too sudden, I think, for this show. So Mon-El and Imra are training the DEO, and an upset Kara looks on. Wynn and Alex walk in to tell Kara that Rain has left another symbol for her, and Rain's then saying at the top of the Catco building, she introduces herself, and this is where things really get awesome. She introduces herself as Supergirl, and after talking, they immediately begin fighting, and their fight spills over into a building, and this fight definitely did not disappoint. I was very worried that, this was really going to let us down, because a lot of this was kind of rushed, but I have to say, this really didn't let me down at all. This was definitely very satisfying. We see the two are continuing to fight as Deck the Halls is playing on in the background. The two leave the skyscraper. They fight on a cargo ship for a bit before the two fly around National City before stopping to fight on a street downtown. And Rain's so powerful over Kara. We can see she's actually overpowering her. And I like this. I like that Kara... she can't hold her own here. Like, she's trying, but Rain is just way too powerful, and she's able to take Kara over the head with a metal rod and makes her bleed. And seeing a little girl looking on, Kara gets back up to fight. Rain continues beating on Kara before flying her to the top of the building. Rain then drops Kara off the side of the building, who crashes into the sidewalk below, and immediately the DEO agents, they swarm the scene. They take an unconscious Kara back to the DEO, where she begins crashing. And we get to the ending here, where we see an excited Ruby runs down the steps at her house to wish her mom a Merry Christmas, and as she gets downstairs, she sees her mom, who's still in her suit, looking out the window, and it appears Ruby is about to find out who her mom really is, and that is the way this episode ends. So, like I said, guys, I didn't think this was an amazing finale by any means. The last, 10 or so minutes was epic as hell, I will definitely say. I was very impressed by the way the last 10 minutes were done. But this was still really great. I did think this was a really good finale. I did really like what we got here. I thought it was definitely very well handled. Let's first address the elephant in the room. Of course, no matter what happens, I understand that they need to have some kind of cliffhanger, but I am a little bit bothered by the fact that, of course, they give us a cliffhanger that, oh, Kara's injured and maybe she's not going to come back from this. I mean, we all know the show is not going to kill off Kara. There's no way that's actually going to happen. She's going to get out of this. She's going to realize that, she's not as powerful as Rain, and she's going to be able to fight her way through this, and she's probably going to be fine. Maybe it'll take an episode, but I think she's probably going to be fine, and she'll get out of this. But I do like where this is going. I like that Rain is more powerful than Kara. I like that Kara can't even hold her own over Rain, and Rain came out almost completely unharmed. I didn't see any blood or anything on her, so Rain seems like she is actually, she really is more powerful, and she really is somehow overpowering Kara. I'm just hoping that this isn't like a Damien Dark situation where Kara is just completely ineffective, because that's what killed Arrow Season 4. I mean, sure, Dark, he was a very good villain, but let's face it, he was a little too powerful for Oliver, and after a while, it just becomes a little too unpractical and repetitive, and I'm hoping we don't go in that direction. It doesn't seem like that's where we're headed. What I like is that Kara had no idea that this was Rain. Kara had no idea that that's what was going on. She just knew there was a Kryptonian that she needed to take down, and that it definitely was an Edge. So I do like the way they set that up. I thought that intrigue was definitely very well done. But the other thing I will definitely give this finale is everything going on between Ruby and Samantha. I really like their relationship. It's actually been one of my favorite parts of this first half of the season. We'll talk about the first half of the season a little bit, but I thought their relationship, they built it up so well that now I'm very intrigued to see where this does go. I mean, obviously Ruby now knows that her mom is Rain. Where's this going to go? I don't know if it's going to go in the way we think. I don't know if Rain's just going to completely abandon Ruby. Maybe she's going to use Ruby to her advantage. I mean, again, there are a lot of possibilities here, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where that does go. So all of that stuff is very intriguing. There's a lot of stuff I really did enjoy there. And as far as things go between Mon-El and Imra, I like the way these these two are trying to ease the transition. I mean, the fact that they didn't go to Kara's party, I really didn't understand. Other than the fact that Mon-El clearly is not there to be Kara's friend. He's just kind of there temporarily, and he's playing on going back. But you know he's going to stay for longer. I mean, I know these shows worked by now. He's going to stay there for much longer than we think. They're going to keep probably elongating it, but I like where this is going. I like that Imra's trying to smooth things over with Kara, telling him, look, it wasn't just he fell in love with me and that's it. It actually took him a while to get over you. I thought that was honestly very well done, and I'm looking forward to seeing where their whole relationship does go as well, because I do think Imra and Kara could form some sort of connection. It's just going to take a while, so I'm interested in seeing really where that's going to go. Really, my only complaints this episode, like I said, everything going on with Edge, I just don't care. I really don't. I like the actor. I think he's doing a really good job, but at this point, he's such a one-note villain, and everything going on with him, the fact he's trying to blame it all on Supergirl, I understand why he's doing that. I get it that obviously, you know, he wants to, he doesn't feel that Supergirl, you know, is fit enough, and that he wants to take over, and, you know, he wants to, you know, take over Catco and things like that. You know, we totally do understand that. And I do like the way things are kind of, you know, continuing to brew between Lena and Edge. I do think all that stuff is very well done, but I just don't really care about this character, especially someone who's so well developed as Rain, who I think if they continue to write her the way they do, she could easily end up being the strongest villain the show's ever had. And like I've said, that has been the biggest problem with this show. They have not had a very consistent threat. I think Rain actually has potential to finally be that big threat that we've all been waiting for, that threat that's actually very powerful and someone who we actually do come to sympathize with. And I think they've done a really good job of building up, you know, Samantha's character. So now that she's transitioning into Rain, not only are we kind of on board with it, but we're kind of devastated to see that character go. So I'm interested in seeing really where they do go with that. I think they built that up, like I said, very well. And when you compare that to Edge, who's just so one note, and there really isn't much else there besides what you really do get with him, it just doesn't really hold up in comparison, and it just doesn't really work for me. Also, James and Lena's relationship, I thought, was honestly very rushed here. I don't think there was any reason to get these two together. I mean, sure, you can hint to the fact that these two are flirting, but I did not think it was necessary for them to kiss in that one scene. I think they easily could have waited for that to go down. Other than that, guys, I was definitely a fan of this finale overall. Before I talk about, you know, give my grade and everything, I want to talk about the season as a whole, because I will admit this has not been the strongest season of Supergirl. It's definitely been not necessarily all over the place, but it's felt like they haven't really had that consistent of a story, and I think it's been because it's all been build up. They've been building up to Rain. They've been building up to the actual main story. You know, Edge was definitely a large part of it, and I do like the way they've incorporated Lena into the show. I think they've done that pretty seamlessly here, but I think in general, it hasn't been bad. It's been good for the most part. It just hasn't been anything where it's like, oh, I can't wait to watch Supergirl every week. I just haven't really felt that this season, but if they're continuing to go in the direction that they do, I think there's a lot of potential for them to possibly get there and get me more on board with the season. Again, not a bad season at all. I think it just has a lot more potential to get even better than it's already been. So for me, I honestly really did enjoy this finale. I thought this was definitely very well done overall. Besides those complaints I had, I thought all the mythology, the buildup of Rain was really well done. I really did like where they took it. So I'm going to give the mid-season finale of Supergirl overall, Season 3, Episode 9, Rain, a B. And the first half of the season as well, I would also give a B. And with that, guys, that's it. Supergirl is over for now. I don't think they're not coming back till like the 3rd or 4th week of January, as they usually do. But let me know what you guys thought of this finale overall. Loved your thoughts, and I'm very interested in seeing where the rest of the season does go. I think this definitely has potential to be Supergirl's strongest season. It's just not yet. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.